Military Assistance Command Vietnam Studies and Observations Group MACV-SOG was a highly classified, multi-service United States Special Operations Unit which conducted covert unconventional warfare operations prior to and during the Vietnam War. Established on 24 January 1964, the unit conducted strategic reconnaissance missions in the Republic of Vietnam, South Vietnam, the Democratic Republic of Vietnam, North Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia, carried out the capture of enemy prisoners, rescued downed pilots, conducted rescue operations to retrieve prisoners of war throughout Southeast Asia, and conducted clandestine agent team activities and psychological operations. The unit participated in most of the significant campaigns of the Vietnam War, including the Gulf of Tonkin incident which precipitated increased American involvement, Operation Steel Tiger, Operation Tiger Hound, the Tet Offensive, Operation Commando Hunt, the Cambodian Campaign, Operation Lam Son 719, and the Easter Offensive. The unit was downsized and renamed Strategic Technical Directorate Assistance Team 158 on 1 May 1972 to support the transfer of its work to the Strategic Technical Directorate of the Army of the Republic of Vietnam, part of the Vietnamization effort. The Studies and Observations Group, also known as SOG, MACV-SOG, and MACV-SOG, was a top-secret, joint unconventional warfare task force created on 24 January 1964 by the Joint Chiefs of Staff as a subsidiary command of the Military Assistance Command Vietnam, MACV. The unit would eventually consist primarily of personnel from the United States Army Special Forces, the United States Navy SEALs, the United States Air Force, USAF, the Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, and elements of the United States Marine Corps Force reconnaissance units.
On August 2020, I emailed Clyde Sincere, who was MACV-SOG C&C Commander and President of the Special Operations Association, SOA, several times, and is President Emeritus. I asked Clyde if SOA ever thought of opening a Special Operations Association museum. Clyde stated that there were many conversations to start and open a museum in the past. Later I found out that the concept has been discussed for many years. Clyde asked me if I thought that it could be done. My answer was anything can be done with the right team of people, with determination and a goal. Clyde promptly wrote an email to all of the SOA board members explaining that a museum should be reviewed and that he would nominate me to chair the committee. Former President Rick Estes thought it would be an excellent project, but he need to refer it to the new elected Special Operations Association President Doug Gottschall. Emails were sent back and forth, and the SOA board decided that board member Doc Paget should chair the museum proposal. I learned that Doc Paget had experience in raising funds for events. I was glad it was in good hands. At that point, I forwarded what information I obtained to Doc Paget. Later, Doc Paget took over another very important project within SOA. He suggested that I become the chair for the museum project. President Doug Gottschall asked me if I would take it over. I've been involved in leading men and women in law enforcement, developing large-scale SWAT training, procurement of equipment, and in my retirement, running a large business. Could I do this? Then I thought of what I told Clyde Sincere many months before. Anything can be done with the right team and mindset. Yes, I wanted a challenge. Doug asked me to come up with a plan that could be presented at the Special Operations Association reunion, SOR 2021. I went to work on the project, scanning the internet, calling existing museums, researching crowd-sharing programs, learning about city, state and government loans and grants. I must admit, I learned a lot from the research. After months of research, tons of editing and having my wife and daughter look over the proposal, I was ready to submit it to the SOA board. The museum operations plans was 16 pages. At SOR 2021, I gave Doug copies for board members. One day, during the Special Operations Association reunion, Doug, Doc Paget and I had a sit-down talk. Opening a museum from foundation or buying a building would take years and millions of dollars. At this point, Doc Paget suggested that a display in an existing museum would be the best approach to have the history of MACV-SOG represented. Doug had been to the Airborne Special Operations Museum in Fayetteville, North Carolina, which is a very impressive museum. They did have some MACV-SOG items displayed. Someone also discussed the John F. Kennedy Museum located on base at Fort Bragg. The discussion went back and forth which museum would be best, and would they let us put a physical display within their museum. Meanwhile, a nucleus of volunteers was forming. Some ex-SOG personnel, some military veterans, other civilians. Then on September 21, 2021, Brian Vines wrote an email. I am currently attending the 5th SF Group 60th reunion at Fort Campbell. I had the honor of meeting the group CSM Josh King, and we discussed the lack of a MACV-SOG display in the 5th Group Hall of Heroes. Perfect. Everyone was now on board. Our museum team started to grow. Our Zoom calls were growing. Roxanne Merritt and Carrie Cutchins, who work at the SWCUS Army John F. Kennedy Special Warfare Museum, joined the team. Roxanne pointed out that we could not use the term museum. After a few minutes of discussion, Doug said, what if we call it the Hall of Heroes MACV-SOG display? Everyone agreed. Now we have a team and a name. Our news team members were Ollie and Simon from the United Kingdom, both part of the MACV-SOG Modern Forces Living History Group. So what would we display? Several people were mentioned. And I am sure it was difficult, as there were so many outstanding SOG personnel, all of which are American heroes. But there had to be a final decision. The decision was General Singlob, 3rd Chief of SOG, Colonel Robert Howard, Major General Alden Bartwell, and General Ken Bore's interpreter Bong, who was a Bermonta 10-yard. At first there was a thought of putting General Singlob in an OSS uniform. Simon pointed out this would cost around $3,000 for just a kit. So it was decided that Singlog would be in his colonel uniform like he wore as Chief SOG. The others would be in uniform as they wore during their time with SOG. Simon came up with a spreadsheet of all the need items and a project cost. Next order of business was how do we fund this project? Well, SOA has a special lady, Bonnie Cooper. With the approval of SOA, she put a wonderful GoFundMe crowd share on the SOA newsletters. Right away, funds were deposited in the GoFundMe account. Our goal was met very fast. All the donors would be recognized and thanked for their donations. I became the bank for the project. Funds were wired to me. Simon and I worked as a team. Simon would search the internet and eBay, point out items to purchase, and I would buy them. The items would then be taken off the list. Around this same time, we were in need of 4 mannequins. I searched the internet and found mannequins. Some were better than others, and the cost was accordingly. Then someone suggested Dorfman mannequins. They were perfect. They had hundreds of heads to choose from to get a close match of the men we wanted to represent. I sent the sample pictures to Dorfman. They in turn found 4 close matches. During Zoom calls, the team chose the best matches. Everything we did was a team decision. Roxanne found a better match of bong in the library of heads from Dorfman. We had so many Zoom calls, I personally lost count. Each Zoom call we would talk of our accomplishments so far and refine the process. Some people would be at work, in their car, or at home. I was at the hospital one time having stitches removed. Package after package was shipped to Sergeant First Class Chris McCollum at Fort Campbell. Chris was our link at Fort Campbell. Every Friday, I sent out an expense report. We were tracking everything really good. We had a date of September 23, 2022, for the unveiling of the Halls of Heroes MACV-SOG display. Would we make it? Simon pointed out 2 rifles, a M16 and a CAR-15, realistic replicas which we bought in Hong Kong. They were held up in customs, and when they arrived at Fort Campbell they were just the uppers. Yes, I was panicked, especially when the website I bought the weapons was down. I thought the store in Hong Kong closed. I was wrong. The final pieces were coming together. Our monthly Zoom calls went from monthly to bi-monthly, then to weekly. Everyone was working hard. Ken Bo-Ray had patches donated for General Singlob uniform. Roxanne and Carrie found a beret for General Singlob. I painted several inert grenades in my backyard. I was just glad my neighbors did not see them. Don Haas reached out to Rob Graham to see if they could put together a video that we could loop in a TV screen that talked about MACV-SOG. It had actual Prairie Fire audio from a SOG mission incorporated into the video. At the end of the video, all the people who donated to the project was added, and then the members who put the display together. Chris McCollum moved all the kit to the Hall of Heroes storage room. Most of the item had already arrived. However, we did have some last-minute kit to be purchased and shipped. Roxanne and Carrie TDY'd to Fort Campbell prior to opening the display and started putting together the mannequins. Most of the team would arrive at Fort Campbell on September 22, 2022 to do the last-minute touches to the display. This also would be our last Zoom call. We had 2 unveiling. One at 1100 hours for MACV-SOG members and guests. The second one at 1400 hours for everyone. The event was outstanding. Mission completed. This project started out with one question. Hey Clyde, has SOA ever thought of opening a Special Operations Association museum?
Hey Don. Hey Don, how you doing?
Doing well.
Well, so are we. We're getting this thing done. It's all up. Yeah. We've listened to you about 20 times this morning. We've had this video loop going the whole time.
Really?
Yeah.
Film you in front of it saying your name, your title, and what this is going to use to you. Oh, sure.
I have it. It's a less than 90 part. Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you. Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Hey, if I could get everyone's attention for a moment, just want to say, pardon me, say a few words. So, first off, because I know I gotta always provide bona fides because I look like somebody's younger brother. But Brent Lindeman, Commander for Special Forces Group, and I'm joined by Command Sergeant Major Josh King and CCWO Rich Cook there in the back. And I just want to thank everybody for being here. We're really excited about both the mixer, but also the unveiling at 3 o'clock today of the exhibit here. And what I'll say is, when Josh and I came on board, Rich came on board a little bit later, but Josh and I really had a passion for sort of legacy and history. I've been on a personal mission just to try to bring that alive for the guys, and just to indicate in the guys an appreciation for those of you who came before, and then the lineage that they're part of. So this is very special to us. And really, I'm going to turn it over to Josh here for a little bit to talk about the genesis of this. But I just want to thank everybody who's been involved. Doug, the SOA, Major General Villeray, Roxanne. We were really fortunate, coinciding with our passion coming into command, was just being able to follow these relationships with Doug and Meyer and others. It was serendipity. I can't say it any other way. Just aligned with where our hearts were leading us and where we want to go with the group, and it's been extraordinary. Just want to thank everybody.
Like I said, I'm Josh Kane. Before I go into that business side of it, when Colonel and I walk around, if we're not in uniform, this happened quite a bit after we took command. But we would walk around and we would meet our soldiers out there. Of course, we didn't know who they were because it was hard with their names and faces. But we would say, "Hey, you guys know who we are?" And we're like, "Hey, we think you're important." And I'll say, "Hey, who's the commander? Who's the CSM?" And they'll go, look back and forth. And 9 times out of 10, they'll say, "He's the CSM," which I say, "Hey, that's a promotion for him." But where you guys are standing, this is our Hall of Heroes. So it is our legacy room, not our museum. As Roxanne has corrected us and make sure we're on the right path here. But this is really where a lot of things culminate. Changes of command happening here, receptions, memorials. We'll do LPDs, NCOPDs. We'll do all kinds of events in here. But this is really where our area to display a lot of our legacy, a lot of our history. And that's really where this started last year. During the 60th anniversary reunion, Colonel said we brought a lot of the vets, as many as we could find, and that would RSVP. And we started having a conversation about what we wanted to do to ensure that our future generation of Green Berets and support everything the SOG family didn't forget what we've done, so they don't hopefully repeat the same mistakes moving forward. And visual displays, as we have here, help sell that and promote that story. So Brian Vines and I, Doug Gottschall, were having a conversation on one of the mixers, and I said, how do we improve on your legacy to ensure that we show the history? And what you guys see here with this display was really a culmination of 363 days of a lot of coordination, and as we were just discussing, multiple continents were involved for people from those areas. Really just an email chain. I think I was getting like, I think we're up to like 15 emails a day sometimes a week.
It was a lot.
It was quite a bit, and all of that came together. And then Chris McComb, our unit historian, really, him and his team put all this together. And what I like about this display, besides the obvious, is that it shows a team, and that's what it took to get all of this to come together as a team. So as everybody here that served in uniform and that support those that do, understand that it doesn't always fall, the mission doesn't always is not successful just because of one person. It's a team effort. And as we're standing here, we've got the Singlop family, and General Singlop was here last year. I think it was at the mixer, which was, as the Colonel mentioned, that was just serendipitous that he was here, and we talked to him a little bit about the legacy, and that really just kind of promoted the idea that led us to this. So, as we talk and fellowship today, and we just build camaraderie, and as the rest of the unit comes in this afternoon, I would appreciate if you guys, we're going to direct it to you, hopefully, but snatch one of these young soldiers up and tell them what each one of these individuals standing in the display, or what that means, because they'll forget, and if they forget, then we're all forget. So I really do appreciate everybody coming out here, all the support, and it's awesome. It's exciting. So thank you.
I want to thank Rob and your team.
There's a
Bring
whole
this
bunch
life
of
more
people.
ways than one.
Rob has produced Prairie Fire video games, and through his connections, a lot of the history reenactors, we've had 2 gentlemen, Ollie DaCosta and Cy Gunning, who are experts in kit and gear, down to what kind of thread you have to use. This was not, okay, we're going to go in the quartermaster room and put some shit on here, and there was close examinations of photographs, General Bowray was able to connect us up with the best mannequin people in the world, the Dorfman Group out of Maryland. We couldn't have done that without him. Then he connects us up with Roxanne and Gary and Mike that put together this display, not a museum, it's a display. I'm a lawyer by trade. I appreciate these things, but we got drilled into us. We had Don Hasse, who was on the video. He was an aviator. All of us who were in MACV-SOG owe our lives to aviators. We're not here today without helicopter pilots flying into the fire and get us. We're not here today without our indigenous troops. So we had Bong, who was General Bowray's interpreter, and that was so important that he was the Brew Montagnards, which were in I-Corps and CCN, were our indigenous troops. Bong was General Bowray's interpreter, as chief person on the team. He was captured by the bad guys and beheaded. So that's really a big piece of this for the SOA. The SOA was started by MACV-SOG guys, by Jim Butler, who just passed away last year, by our great friend Mike Taylor, who did a one. Mike Taylor just passed away within the last couple of weeks. It really hurts to even say his name. And all the MACV-SOG guys are so indebted to Colonel Lindeman, Command Sergeant Major King, and to the team that we put together to put this exhibit together. And I think it's going to be extremely well received by everyone, and it's historically accurate as it can be. This is not some bunch of old guys like me sitting down and writing cartoons and saying, I remember what happened 50 years ago. There's thousands of hours into this project to make it as accurate as possible. And we will continue to build on it. We're going to get a little storyboard for Bond. There's a stable issue that no one has brought up. But we're going to steadily move on. Brian Vines and I visited the command several months in early spring, and Brian put together a wonderful PowerPoint for the command to see what we're going to do, and it was executed by our terrific team. So we're very grateful that you're all here, and this afternoon we've got a number of really MACV-SOG heroes. We've got Vern Ward here, there he is. Larry Trimble, the hero of 23 August 68 Marble Mountain. Probably saved my life that day too. But the wonderful DNAV, King D, Vietnamese pilots, who were flying piece of shit helicopters that we didn't want. When you went into those things, whether it was an insert or an extraction, you were going to come out smelling like hydraulic fluid. Those things leak more than anything else. But they were very brave guys. Last year we had a bunch of them at our reunion in Las Vegas. We're going to have a bunch more. We love those guys. They saved our lives. They're very, very good people. So a very important part of MACV-SOG is not just Special Forces recon guys, but our Montagnard friends and teammates, and especially our aviation units. So when I was so pleased to be here for the Gold Star week earlier this year and had the 160th flyover. That was very impressive, and those guys they're a part of our team. They're not, they do everything for us, so we're very happy with that. So we've got this nice film. We've got some guys from back in the day, like Don Hasse, Tilt Meyer. Tilt couldn't be here, I'm sorry. Ken Bowman is speaking. And then we also have some great film. We've got a map from back in the day that Ken Bowra had, and it's marked up with some AAA spots, which is the only ones I really cared about being the AAA. But the rest of the exhibit is absolutely authentic to the time and the place, and thousands of hours were spent to put these things. I wish Larry Trimble was here. I don't know why he's in here today, but he's physically on base, and I know he went to one of the team houses and entertained him for a long time. He's a great recon man. Let's see, he saved my life tonight. Does anybody have any questions about what we're doing, what we have done? We hope to make some improvements on the display, not a museum with a display in the future. And we will listen to any comments, because we know we have some pretty critical and experienced operators. Sir?
I'm a member of SOA.
Yes, sir.
Can you explain to everybody here what the requirements are to join?
Yes, I
know
can.
we need some new, younger guys.
We do need younger guys. I mean, one of the reasons why I had to get somebody like Rob Graham involved is I tell people, you tell by the color of my hair how good I'm in technology. I think Josh King and I were speaking, we were having a conversation. How did you guys operate without computers and satellites? I said, I love land nav. I love, reverse azimuths and things like that. But we never knew where the hell we were. When we made the first combo check at first flight, hi, where the hell are we? Thank you. The SOA is made up and started by Jim Butler. He's number 001. He was a captain. He's a recon man. Ken knew him very well. And Penang. And he and a bunch of guys got together at Fort Devens in the 70s. So we need to form an organization that's just MACV-SOG recon people, as opposed to the rest of the SF. The SF is a association. I'm a light member of that too. Proud to be a member of the SFA. But they were all into Vietnam, the A-team guys. Okay, that's what they're focused on. So the MACV-SOG is limited to members who belong to organizations that we respect as having done unconventional warfare behind enemy lines. And we have a list of units that you can see, including that as a special forces group. But the kicker is, it's the only organization, veterans organization in the world, where you have to prove that you were a member of that organization and were under enemy fire. You were in combat. You have to show that you were. Now, a group like the 5th group shouldn't be very difficult. Almost all of you can qualify. If you've been here, after your first deployment, you're going to qualify. But that's what we are. And we're like any other veterans group. We sit around like the wonderful hospitality room in Chapter 38 has afforded us, and we talk to our friends that we talk to. We talk to our friends that we serve with. And we also try to support the friends and family. We have guys that are not doing so well. We helped out a family, an NSF family, one of their children had a horrible, horrible medical condition. We raised some money for them, so we try to support our SF and special op communities. We're not limited to the Army, Marines, yes, the U.S. Marine Recon, SEALs, Air Force, aviators, especially the aviators, so we're not limited to just Army and Special Forces, but we are a MACV-SOG heritage organization. Most of us came from MACV-SOG, and we're trying to get just a little younger.
The next award we have is the highest award that we generally give. It's called the President's Award, and it's intended to be given to an extremely prestigious award for truly outstanding service to the SOA. And we're eager to give a number of these awards this year. The first one I want to talk about is a guy that works silently and hard, and works hard and silently all the time. This gentleman was intimately involved in the Whole Heroes Project in the 5th group. I said we had about 25 meetings over a period of a half a year, and in between the meetings, we would have people working like dogs to get this thing together, putting the kit together, matching photographs, ordering mannequins. I never knew anything about ordering mannequins. Making the mannequins sort of match the personality and the figures that they were portraying. It was an enormous undertaking. And one of the guys that kept the thing going was our own Bruce Christensen. Bruce, would you come up here? Bruce kept all the books, he ordered most of the supplies, and he kept in constant communication. The award reads for exceptional and exemplary service to the Special Operations Association and its legacy in organizing and leading the assembly of mannequins of MACV-SOG recon legends Bob Howard, Elvin Bardswell, John Taxig Love, and beloved Blue Team member Bob, unveiled at the 5th Special Forces Group Headquarters Hall of Heroes on 23 September 2022. This display will remain as a permanent exhibit at the Special Warfare Center Museum. We couldn't have done it without Bruce. Thank you, sir. kidding you. There are a number of other people associated with the Hall of Heroes that are not here that will be given President's Associations personally by me. That includes Major General Laurie, Colonel Brian Vines. Brian Vines sat down with Josh King at the 5th Group reunion in 2021 and started putting this thing together. And two people who were absolutely essential that you guys have never heard of. Their names are Carrie Hutchins and Roxanne Merritt. They work at the SWIC Museum, the Special Warfare Center Museum in Fort Bragg, and they were immensely helpful in getting us through Army regulations, telling us what we could do, what we couldn't do, and then they got TDY orders to Fort Campbell from Bragg or Fort Liberty, and came down and assembled the mannequins for us, so I will deliver them. There's one more